Welcome to Future Epoch, where we learn more about our world. Every morning, billions of people wake up and reach for their phones. Before they have spoken a single word, before they have eaten breakfast or read a newspaper, they have already been sorted, profiled, and served a reality curated specifically for them. It feels like a window onto the world. In many ways, it is more like a mirror, reflecting not what the world actually contains, but what a machine has calculated will keep them engaged. This is the age of the social media algorithm. An algorithm, in the simplest sense, is a set of instructions. Feed it data, and it produces an outcome. Social media algorithms were not originally designed to shape political opinions or fragment society. They were designed to do something far more commercially straightforward: to show users content they were most likely to engage with, because engagement translates into advertising revenue. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram all operate variations of the same basic system. Their algorithms observe user behavior: what you click on, how long you linger on a post, what you share, what makes you comment, and they use that data to predict what you will want to see next. The more accurate that prediction, the longer you stay on the platform, and the more advertising the platform can sell. It sounds neutral, even helpful. But the consequences of optimizing billions of people's information diets for maximum engagement have proven to be anything but. The story begins in the early 2000s, when social media platforms were simple tools for connecting with friends. Facebook launched in 2004, YouTube in 2005, Twitter in 2006. At this stage, feeds were largely chronological. You saw what people posted, in the order they posted it. The shift came as platforms scaled into the hundreds of millions of users. A chronological feed, once manageable, became overwhelming. Platforms began experimenting with ranked feeds, using early algorithmic signals to surface the content users were most likely to respond to. By the early 2010s, engagement optimization had become the dominant logic of Silicon Valley. Facebook introduced its newsfeed algorithm in 2006 and iterated on it continuously ever since. YouTube's recommendation engine, which by 2018 was reportedly responsible for more than 70% of the time users spent on the platform, was tuned aggressively toward watch time. The longer a video kept viewers watching, the more the algorithm promoted it. In 2016, a series of events forced a wider reckoning. The Brexit referendum and the United States presidential election exposed the degree to which algorithmically amplified misinformation could move through populations at scale. Researchers and journalists began to ask whether the systems designed to keep people engaged were, as a side effect, making those people angrier, more extreme, and more isolated from perspectives they disagreed with. The core tension at the heart of social media algorithms is the conflict between engagement and accuracy. Research has consistently shown that content which provokes strong emotional responses, outrage, fear, and moral indignation, generates more interaction than calm, nuanced information. The algorithm cannot distinguish between engagements driven by genuine curiosity and engagements driven by anger. It sees only the signal. The concept of the filter bubble, popularized by internet activist Eli Pariser in his 2011 book of the same name, describes what happens when algorithms continuously serve users content that confirms their existing beliefs. The result is not exposure to the world in its full complexity, but a personalized information environment that progressively narrows. Users may genuinely believe they are seeing a representative picture of reality when they are, in fact, seeing a heavily curated subset shaped by their past behavior. The Facebook Files, a series of internal documents published by the Wall Street Journal in 2021, provided one of the clearest windows into how the company understood its own systems. Internal research reportedly found that Instagram was harmful to the mental health of a significant proportion of teenage girls. The company's own data showed that users who engaged with groups promoting divisive political content were often algorithmically directed toward increasingly extreme material. Facebook's researchers understood the problem. The commercial incentive to address it was far weaker than the commercial incentive to sustain engagement. YouTube faced similar scrutiny. Investigations documented a pattern in which the recommendation algorithm led users from mainstream content progressively toward more provocative and extreme videos, because that content tended to generate stronger emotional responses and longer watch times. Exactly the signals the system was built to chase. The platforms disputed the severity of these findings, and the academic research remains genuinely contested. Studies disagree on how powerful algorithmic amplification truly is relative to other forces, such as pre-existing beliefs, political context, and real-world events. What the evidence does not dispute is that these systems exist, that they shape what billions of people see every day, and that their design priorities do not begin with the public interest. The consequences operate at multiple levels. At the individual level, there is growing evidence that heavy social media use is correlated with increased anxiety and depression, particularly among young people, though researchers continue to debate the precise nature of the causal relationship. Public health bodies in the United Kingdom, the United States, and across Europe have all raised this concern, and the volume of independent research addressing it continues to grow. At the political level, the algorithmically accelerated spread of misinformation has become a recognized challenge for democratic processes worldwide. The phenomenon is not unique to one country or political tradition. It has been documented across Europe, the Americas, and Southeast Asia, surfacing in elections, public health crises, and moments of civil unrest alike. Regulators are now responding. The European Union's Digital Services Act, which came into force in 2024, imposes new transparency and accountability requirements on large platforms, including mandatory risk assessments for their algorithmic systems. Platforms must explain their recommendation logic to users and offer chronological alternatives. Fines for non-compliance can reach 6% of global annual revenue. It is the most significant regulatory intervention in platform behavior to date, though its long-term effectiveness remains to be assessed. The most important insight is this: a social media feed is not a neutral window onto the world. It is the product of a commercial system optimized for a specific goal, engagement, which is not the same as truth, balance, or well-being. Understanding this does not require cynicism about technology or the people who build it. It requires literacy about how these systems actually work and whose interests they primarily serve. The platforms are not monolithic villains. Many engineers and researchers inside these companies have pushed hard to address the harms their systems can produce. The problem is structural. When a company's revenue depends on engagement, the institutional pressure is always toward more of it, regardless of what that engagement costs. Individual good intentions cannot easily overcome a business model built on keeping you scrolling. We are still, collectively, in the early stages of understanding what it means to organize so much of human communication and information through systems that no one voted for and that most people do not fully understand. The algorithms shaping your information diet today were not designed with your interests as the primary consideration. They were designed to keep you engaged, and in that gap between engagement and interest lies one of the defining challenges of our time. The question is whether democratic societies can build the regulatory frameworks, the media literacy, and the platform accountability necessary to bring these systems into alignment with public values, or whether the commercial logic of the attention economy will continue to set the terms of how billions of people experience reality. That question does not yet have an answer. But the fact that governments, researchers, and ordinary people are asking it more loudly and with greater urgency may itself be a sign that the answer is beginning to form. Thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed this content and want to see more, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel.